Hello everyone, I'm Dragons After Dark, and today we are going to take a look at some of the pet updates that we saw this week on the beta. I try to do this toward the end of the week instead of the beginning of the week, that way I can make sure all the information I've gathered is correct and that I've gathered as much information as possible. A lot of what we saw this week was a drastic reduction in the unknown sources for pets. It dropped from 52, 53 down into the 30s or the 20s, I believe. So a lot of pets got sources. Most of them went into vendors and wild battles. That said, most of those sources were set as to be determined. So while we know they are going to come from these things, we can't say yet where those will be, what the vendors are, what zones, those types of things. One of the sources that we saw for pets that we previously had were the Echo pets, and the Echo pets are going to be drops. So they were the first pets that we added to our drops section. We don't know, again, a lot of these sources were marked as to be determined, so we don't know what they're going to drop from. We don't know if they're going to be dropping from rares or just their corresponding elementals, if they're going to be from a dungeon, but they are kind of in a set, so I imagine they'll be from rares or from a dungeon or possibly a raid that deals with elementals. So that will be the Echo of the Heights, the Echo of the Depths, Echo of the Inferno, and the Echo of the Cave. Those guys have been labeled as drop pets. We also saw some new pets come up this week. There were probably at least 8 or 9, something like that. 4 of those were a set of spirit pets that were added to engineering. Again, these guys are elementals. Some of them do have newer models, so they're not just going to be recolorations of the Echo pets. And these pets are going to be collected with the Zap Throttle Soul Inhaler. We don't know exactly how they work. I was only able to craft them on the level 70 pre-made zone, and right now you can't leave Orgrimmar or Stormwind at this point with those characters. So while I was able to craft the item, I could not figure out what their sources were going to be, how exactly they were going to work. Once we get fully open pre-made characters that also have the profession vendors and just everything's opened up, we'll be able to look into that a little bit more, see how it works, make sure it's working because it's the beta, and that's what's really important, is to make sure things are working properly. But we do know that the Zap Throttle Soul Inhaler will not work without what's called a soul cage, and those are going to come from jewel crafters. So we're seeing quite a bit of interplay between the professions needing certain things to work. Not all of the profession pets are going to need things from multiple professions to function properly. However, these ones will. So the engineer will need to make the Zap Throttle Soul Inhaler, and then the jewel crafter will need to make the soul cages. And I'm pretty sure what we're going to see is they're just going to correspond to their elements. So we're probably going to get the Tide Spirit from water elementals. We'll get the Dust Spirit from dust elementals or earth elementals. Get the Blaze Spirit from fire elementals, and then the Gale Spirit from maybe storm elementals, since the Dust Spirit, storm or wind, since I think the dust will be earth. But those are 4 of the new pets. In addition to some of the profession pets, I did figure out how to make the order elemental on the level 70 pre-made realm, and this one's probably going to be one of the easiest pets to get. We see a very direct route from picking up enchanting and working through it. This is going to be a recipe rewarded from one of these specialization tabs. I have all of that lined out on the Zufu's page. and you can take a look at it over there. I'll make sure I link the article in the description below. Now we're going to move into some of the treasure pets. We saw some treasure pets added this week, and one of those was the viridescent duck. The viridescent duck is currently working as I believe it's probably intended on the beta, and I was able to go out and get this. I didn't see anyone else comment on it. I'm sure I wasn't the first to get this duck because it involves petting one of the Bakar companion animals, and I'm sure I'm not the first one running around and just petting all of the doggos that I see. So I'm sure other people got the duck before I did, but I did post a comment on Wowhead, and of course I added it to my article on how you will get this pet. This is going to be a 3-day wait treasure pet, so you're gonna get it, the drop from the treasure, and then it'll be a 3-day wait as the duck hatches. Next up, we have the treasure pet chestnut, and this pet was found by Matt JC, so big thank you to Matt. This one is probably one of the simpler treasures that we have. Also, I have a video that's already out on how to get this one, but it's really straightforward, not too difficult to figure out. However, we also have some treasure pets that are available, and I'm doing air quotes here, on the beta, but they are not working properly, and right now that's the black feather nester. So we can get this pet if we stand in one very particular spot where it's located. We're able to loot this pet. However, I don't think this was intended. One of the items I believe we're supposed to use, it has not been fully implemented onto the beta servers. So it's a 2-part treasure. You have to pick up one item, and then you have to use another item with that item to get the lootable treasure NPC to come over. However, the second item's not working, but again, I can loot it, and I know that these things are connected because once you loot the black feather nester from the NPC, the items disappear. So I have put in a bug report about that particular pet, but right now this one is not working as intended on the beta. And as for the azure frillfish, which will come from the bubble drifter, this one's just not working at all. So we can see the item, but we can't interact with it, so we don't exactly know how this is going to work. If it's just a single step one like chestnut, or if it's going to be a multiple step one like the black feather nester, but we have not been able to pick up this pet yet, which is kind of disappointing. We haven't been able to actually get any of the lionfish yet. I'm pretty sure there's going to be at least one, maybe two, that we're going to see some fishing. I would almost bet money on that if I was a betting person, because we're seeing a nice amount of pets coming from professions, and I'd love to see some fish that we could fish up with the fishing profession this expansion, especially since they have a big emphasis on fishing this time around with some of the NPCs. Like we have the Tuskar, and the centaurs actually really like to fish, so you see some interaction between the centaur clans and the Tuskar and their love for fishing. So I would not be shocked if we saw some pets coming from the fishing profession here soon. So again, the most complicated treasure we have is the roseate hopper. This one was solved by Kalis and their friend, so again, another big thank you to Kalis and their friend for figuring this one out. They just took a day, they went out, they figured out all the clues. I will be making a video on how to get this one. I made a fresh character, so I'm going to go through and I'll have a whole bunch of videos on how to get these treasures. This one, I'm pretty sure, is implemented properly, working as it should, so I'm not worried about making a video about this one and having it not work. But by far, this is probably the most complicated of the treasure pets that we've seen so far. So the big news of the week is that we finally have polished pet charm pets on a vendor. The vendor we're seeing these pets on is Pachu in Iskara in the Azure Span, They are one of our tamers that we're going to be fighting for World Quests and our battle on the Dragon Isles for the Family Battler. And I did actually just make her Family Battler video that got posted as of today. And she will have all 5 of our polished pet charm pets as far as we know and as of now. The cheapest one we're seeing is Petal, and this one is $250. It's really hard to see on the pet viewer here. And even in the journal, there's a weird discrepancy between what the summoned Petal has, like their adornment, and what the viewer Petal has. But when you summon Petal, they will have this crown of flowers on, and I think it's really cute. I think I mentioned it in another video, but there's a big thing about pets having hats and things in this expansion, and I'm here for it. I think it's adorable. I think it'd be really cool if we had like a pet barber shop where you could dress up, not every single pet, but I think it would be fun to implement something like with the Dredger Butler, where you could go in and maybe you could give one of your little snakes a top hat, or like put a crown of flowers on a slime. So I think that would be something fun to implement for pets in the future. Just throwing out some ideas, guys. Another one of the pets that will be on the vendor is the Troubled Tome. This is our 500 charm pet, and it is one of the new pets that came out this week. Now, I say new as in it's new in name. Obviously, we have other book models, so not necessarily new. The one thing about this particular pet, it is one of 3 pets that we have in our roster that will have Twilight Meteorite, which is interesting to me because Dragonkin damage does high amounts of damage to magic pets, and Twilight Meteorite is a Dragonkin attack, and the Troubled Tome is a magic pet. Next up, we have our 1000 charm pet, and this is Pistachio. Pistachio is another flying squirrel copy-paste thing. I'm not sure I would have made this one the 1000 charm pet. If I'm being perfectly honest, I probably would have made Petal the 1000 charm pet, mostly just because, I don't know, maybe I feel like flower crowns are worth more charms. So we see quite a few of these flying squirrels, and while they're cute, I still think the Petal would have been, like, I would have think their places would have been swapped. Now maybe if you throw a top hat on this guy. Give me a flying squirrel. Ooh, not a top hat, maybe one of those aviator helmets. Yes, give me a flying squirrel with an aviator helmet, like from The Adventures of Nemo and Slumberland or whatever it is. I can't remember the exact name of the movie. Give me a flying squirrel with an aviator's cap, and you can make it worth 1000 pet charms. I'm just putting it out there. I think it'd be cute. Okay, so for our 2500 pet charm pet, we have Pinky. Now, I think Pinky looks really cool. Don't get me wrong, I'm never going to be a fan of the little funky looking finger wing things, kind of like what you see on the proto-dregs. Never going to be a big fan of that, but I do really like that they took the plain striders and gave them a very draconic aesthetic. I think this looks great for that. I think they did a great job with Pinky. I can't remember what their moveset is exactly, but they are a beast pet, and they do have some flying moves, which is really nice. We don't have a whole lot of beast pets with flying movesets, so I think that'll be really great when implemented for maybe future family fights. But I think Pinky looks really cool. Pinky definitely worth the 2500. And the final pet, the one everyone has been waiting for, is Scout. Now, when Scout was first implemented, they had the model display of one of the woodpecker pets that we have, a few of. However, this week, Scout showed up, and Scout is going to be a border collie model. I'm pretty sure it's a border collie with a bandana and a backpack. Now, the reason I'm not giving you the 360 view is, unfortunately, Scout is missing their tail. And not only can you see through to the front of them, but when your character's taller and you've got a top-down view, you can see the ground through them. I have submitted a bug report about this, obviously, and I'm definitely willing to pay charms for this pet. I am not willing to pay for I'm not willing to pay that number of charms for a pet with a hole in its butt. You might be wondering how much this pet is going to set you back. Well, we don't exactly know. So the problem is there is a discrepancy between the vendor and the pet journal. So the vendor says it's going for 5,000 and the pet journal is saying it's going for 10,000. Now, if I'm going based off of the increments of the values of the pet charm pets, I would say it's going to be 5,000. However, we did see a 10k charm pet it's still the current expansion, but in Shadowlands. We saw the 10k pet charm pet, so it would not shock me if they kept with that and made either this one worth 10,000 pet charms, or maybe it's sort of a foreshadowing of another pet later on that will be toward the end of the expansion that we're going to see that's going to be 10k again. I'm still leaning toward 5k with this pet, but again, I'm not paying 5,000 charms for a pet with a hole in it. That's just my opinion. But that's going to be it for me for this week. If you enjoy these little pet updates that I'm doing, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. And whenever we have these big updates like we did this week, I think this week had like 300 changes, mostly to like a shuffling of movesets, adding the to be determined to a bunch of vendors and wild pets, and changing some abilities. Like the jeweled whelplings now have all of their their own unique movesets. In addition to that, the jeweled whelplings also have received an additional reagent needed to craft them. We're not sure where it's going to come from yet. We haven't been able to find it. It's not on any of the vendors for purchase. There are no recipes that we can find that craft these things. Maybe it's just something that's implemented that we just haven't figured out yet, but there's no indication on the tooltip where it's going to come from. But like I said, if you like these videos, whenever there's a big update, I can do another one. Just let me know in the comments below so I can keep doing them. If there's any other pet topic you'd like to see me do a video of, go ahead and also drop that down in the comments below. But I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day or night, depending on where you are in the world. And until next time, everyone, happy battling!